"He killed my daughter. I hope he's dead," were the words spoken by Marianne Bachmeier after she shot her 7-year-old daughter's rapist in a courtroom. On March 6, 1981, Marianne secretly carried a Beretta 70 semi-automatic pistol into the trial and fired 7 bullets into the accused's back one. This act marked Germany's first instance of vigilante justice, prompting the implementation of strict security measures in courtrooms that persist to this day. 1. Marianne Bachmeier was born on June 3, 1950, in West Germany. Her parents were refugees from East Prussia, starting anew in Germany. Despite the horrors of World War II, her parents were deeply religious and adhered to strict rules. They expected the same from their daughter. Despite her devoutness, Marianne's father drank heavily and frequented bars. Her mother eventually divorced him when Marianne was still young. Soon after, her mother remarried, but the stepfather lacked sentimentality, leading to regular conflicts in the household. At 16, Marianne was kicked out of her home. Seeking support among peers, she entered a relationship with a young man and became pregnant. However, as soon as he learned of her pregnancy, he vanished. Marianne decided to give up the child for adoption. She gave birth to a girl named Christina. 2 years later, in 1968, Marianne finished school and became pregnant again, this time by another man. At 18, she faced an uncertain future. Unfortunately, the new partner also proved unreliable and abandoned her after learning of her pregnancy. Shortly before giving birth, during the last month of her pregnancy, Marianne was attacked and raped. The case went to court, but the scales of justice tilted in favor of the perpetrator. The judge deemed that a heavily pregnant woman had somehow provoked the criminal, and he received only a suspended sentence. Marianne gave birth to her second daughter while battling severe depression. She named the baby Natasha, but due to her emotional state and financial circumstances, once again had to give her child up for adoption. Abandoned by her parents, Marianne realized she needed to find a way to support herself. She took a job at a bar where she met Christian Berthold. Christian was the manager of the Tapasa pub. Their relationship blossomed rapidly, and Marianne became pregnant for the 3rd time. At the age of 23, Marianne gave birth to her 3rd daughter. On November 14, 1972, little Anna came into the world. Immediately after Anna's birth, Marianne made the difficult decision to undergo voluntary sterilization. Complications during childbirth had put her ability to have more children at risk. Thus, she took this serious step. Unfortunately, Marianne's luck with men didn't improve. Christian declared he wasn't ready for fatherhood and left. Despite this setback, Marianne resolved to raise Anna on her own. Financially, they managed reasonably well. Marianne worked at a beer bar in Lübeck, although juggling work and motherhood was incredibly challenging. With no one to leave her child with, Marianne brought Anna to work. The little girl slept on a bench, waiting for her mother to finish her shift. Anna's father continued working at the same bar as the manager, but he rarely interacted with her. Nevertheless, neighbors described the child as remarkably happy. Until that fateful day, on May 5, 1980, 7-year-old Anna had an argument with her mother, silently prepared for school, and left. However, Anna didn't show up for classes that day. She also didn't return home in the evening. Marianne grew increasingly alarmed, checking with all the neighbors, but to no avail. No one had seen the little girl. The next day, Marianne sat in the police station, filing a report about her missing child. Unfortunately, the investigation concluded swiftly, and little Anna was already dead. As the investigation revealed, 35-year-old Klaus Grabowski, a neighbor and a butcher, had raped and strangled the girl. On that fateful morning, Anna was walking to a friend's house when Klaus, whom she knew well, called out to her. He invited her to his home to play with his cat. Once inside his apartment, he assaulted the poor girl. To cover up the crime, he used his fiancée's tights to strangle her, kept her in his home for several hours, concealed her body in a cardboard box, and then transported it to the canal's shore. It remains unclear what Klaus hoped to achieve when he confessed to his future wife about his actions. She immediately contacted the police, leading to Klaus's arrest. Although he admitted to the crime, he denied sexually assaulting the child. Nevertheless, the court determined that rape had indeed occurred. The monster attempted to justify himself, claiming that Anna had tried to seduce him and threatened to tell her mother about his advances, demanding money. All this when she was just 7 years old. At that time, Klaus Grabowski was already serving time in prison for sexually assaulting 2 underage girls. Upon his release, he was subject to an additional condition, chemical castration medication. While still in prison, he had also been prescribed hormonal treatments to reduce testosterone levels in his body. The trial began in March 1981. Marianne attended 2 sessions. Sitting in the courtroom, she listened in horror to the defense's arguments. They claimed that Klaus Grabowski, the accused, suffered from hormonal imbalance due to chemical castration after his previous crimes. Supposedly, this emotional distress led him to commit atrocities. The defense also asserted that investigators found no biological evidence on the girl's body suggesting that Anna had not been raped. According to their narrative, Grabowski killed her out of fear. Additionally, human rights advocates argued that Anna grew up in inappropriate conditions without maternal supervision. Marianne herself had placed her children for adoption after failed relationships. The public became divided into 2 camps. Some sympathized with Grabowski, while others supported Marianne and empathized with her grief. On March 6, 1981, during the 3rd day of the trial, around 10 a.m., Bachmeier secretly brought a Beretta 70 into the courtroom. As soon as the proceedings began, she pulled the gun from her purse and emptied the entire magazine into her daughter's killer. 6 out of 7 shots hit their mark. Bachmeier then calmly lowered the gun and surrendered to the police without resistance. Later, she confessed that she wanted to silence Grabowski by any means necessary and prevent him from speaking ill of her beloved daughter. Judge Günther Krager, who spoke with Marianne after the murder, reported that she kept repeating, "I wanted to shoot him in the face, but I shot him in the back. I hope he's dead." A year and a half later, Marianne herself faced trial. On November 2, 1982, the trial attracted television companies from around the world. The courtroom and its surroundings were abuzz with activity. Initially, Marianne faced charges of premeditated murder, which could have resulted in a life sentence. However, after 6 months, her sentence was softened due to the circumstances, and she was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Marianne Bachmeier was released on parole after serving 3 years in June 1985. In the same year, she married a schoolteacher. 3 years later, they moved to Lagos, Nigeria, the largest city in the country, where her husband taught at a German school. She remained in Africa until 1990, Following another divorce, Marianne relocated to Sicily. In Palermo, she lived until 1996. During this time, she worked in a hospice. Patients affectionately called her Joy, as she was supposedly the only one capable of truly comforting dying individuals during their final hours. She spoke about her tragedy only twice, once on the radio in 1994 and later on television. Marianne admitted that she had meticulously planned Grabowski's murder and practiced shooting a pistol in the basement of her pub. She sold her story to the German weekly magazine Stern for a special issue, receiving 100,000 German marks to cover legal expenses. A year before her death, filmmaker Lucas Maria Boehmer approached Marianne with the idea of a documentary film about her. She wanted him to capture her decline and death on film, and this agreement was fulfilled. Throughout her remaining life, Marianne regretted placing her first two daughters in an orphanage, but she never managed to find them. She died of pancreatic cancer on September 17, 1996, at the age of 46, and her final resting place was next to her daughter, Anna. And if you found this video insightful, don't hesitate to give it a like and share it with others who might find it interesting. Every like, share, and subscription goes a long way in supporting our channel. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.